Buenos dias. So today in this video is going to be a little bit of a different style of video. I'm here in Panama right now, in Panama City, in Casco, Viejo, and I wanted to do a little bit of a walking tour with you and kind of also explain what my first impressions are of this country, which is Panama, which is absolutely beautiful. On this beautiful day in June in the wet season, it is absolutely insanely humid. You can see the new city over there. This is the tide out right now across the bay. Panama, you can see the ships which are coming in the background right there. It's about 6:39 a.m. It's already like 36 degrees with the humidity, but it is the hottest month of the year. This is the Airbnb that we're staying in. Really nice place. It's absolutely beautiful. It's across 3 levels. It's a old house in Casco, Viejo that's been redone, 2-bedroom house. Absolutely beautiful. We got a huge deal on this. Excuse my shirt. But you can see, really nice kitchen. You can go sit on these balconies out here, which look at the old town, it's all steamed up because it's so humid. And now we'll head out and I'll talk about my first impressions of this place. When you come into this Airbnb, it's kind of funny. You see this lady, she kind of freaks me out every time. All right, so we are out and about. So it's pretty early right now in Casco Viejo. I want to show you one of the churches, all the old buildings. Really, really nice here. You know, when we came to Panama, I had no idea what to think. I really was kind of confused, and I didn't know whether it was going to be like Costa Rica or it was going to be like Mexico, but it's like none of those places. You know, Panama is a really, really beautiful place so far, and where we've been staying is the majority of a touristy place. Casco Viejo, very touristy, lots of tourists, and it's also very expensive here. Casco Viejo, it's not a cheap place by any stretch of the imagination. It's kind of cute, all the old roads, and this is obviously where the tram would have ran, so really cool. Everybody's off to work right now. It's Monday morning, and I just want to show you this square because it's absolutely beautiful. This is kind of a little shop that we've been going to, little mini market, to get bits and pieces whilst we're in here. We're actually leaving Casco Viejo, going to look at some properties in Costa Verde, and then also going to San Carlos. This is the square, the main square. It's absolutely beautiful here. The camera's probably not going to do it justice. These buildings, I mean, they're very well kept here in Panama. There's also some of the ruins. There's also a place which is actually, a lot of people say is dangerous, which is an interesting place to go because you can see, like, from when there was the US troops came here, all the buildings still have bullet holes in it. It's kind of crazy place. I think it's called El Chorrillo. I'll probably get that totally wrong. You know, this square is absolutely stunning. There's just history everywhere you go in Casco Viejo. Kind of crazy. But look at this church. It's actually a cathedral. But look at it. Absolutely insanely stunning building. One thing I will say about Panama is there are police everywhere, and there's also cats everywhere too. But there are police everywhere. It seems like a very safe place. Obviously, when you've got a high police presence around, it does make you feel more safe. It's kind of like Mexico in that respect. One thing I noticed as well was the Spanish is actually quite different here compared to Mexico. Not the same. What the hell? There's a cat here, right there. There's one there. I don't know if you can see that on the camera. And there's one there in the grass as well. So there's loads of different things that you can do here. One is the Museum of the Canal. So what I'm going to do is walk down to the water now, and we'll talk about some of the things I've noticed since coming here. We've only stayed in Casco Viejo so far, which is an extremely beautiful place, but like I said, it's pretty expensive when it comes down to it. It's not exactly a cheap place, so it does seem very expensive, but then when you compare it to like Cancun in Mexico, that is also very expensive, especially when you're talking about Fifth Avenue and places like Playa del Carmen. Probably similar, and because the exchange rate for the Mexican peso right now is so bad, you know, I don't think it's actually that bad here. it's not as bad as you would think, because the exchange rate is absolutely terrible right now when I film this. You know, if you're getting cash Mexican pesos, you're probably only getting like 15 pesos to the US dollar, which is insane because like a couple of years ago it was at 24. It was really weak. So, you know, you've gone from very, very strong to very, very weak. Look at these streets. You can see right down to the ocean there. It's an absolutely beautiful place. There's police everywhere. There's police right there in front. Sun's just coming up right now, which is really, really nice. So right now it's early morning. I figured that would be the best place to go and do like a walk and talk, because it gets so humid, guys, here, you would not believe. And that's one thing that we expected, we knew about. You can never kind of expect it. It's like a furnace here, so hot. But it is June, it is the hottest month of the year. So I thought this was probably a good month to actually come, because when you really think about it, then you're gonna see it when it's hottest, you know, so the worst it gets, which is now. And on this trip, we're going across the entire country. So we're gonna see multiple different places. We're gonna be looking at rental properties, places to buy. We're gonna weigh up which is better. We're not gonna obviously buy a property if the rental rate is not good enough, because at the end of the day, we don't know if we're gonna stay here long term. But if it makes sense to buy versus rent, then we're gonna do that. So it's just a beautiful place. Another church right there. This place is just stunning, and it's extremely well kept. It kind of reminds me of Zona Romantica in Puerto Vallarta, if you've ever been to that place. But this is just a beautiful place. The scenery, crazy. It just reminds you of like being in a place in Europe, here in Casco Viejo. So far, we've looked at stuff, we've been out for meals, and we thought, man, this is really expensive. But like I said, when you compare it back and you're comparing it to like Mexican pesos right now in a place like Playa del Carmen, which is touristy, it's not too bad. And obviously we're in the most touristy area of Panama, pretty much Casco Viejo. There's a lot of hotels here. There are other areas which are also touristy. Here in Casco Viejo is kind of one of the most touristy places. So I'm walking past right now the Sofitel Legend at Casco Viejo. This place is like $350 a night. So this hotel right here is about 350 US a night. It is not a cheap hotel. We actually looked at staying here. We've stayed at some Sofitels in Germany before. They are really, really stunning hotels, but there's no way we're going to be paying that much money. This is kind of a beautiful place, because look at that. It's like a little mini market here. People set up stalls. You walk through the roses. Really, really nice. Buenas. You see a lot of stalls here and stuff during the day. It's really, really nice. This is kind of, it's like you're walking under confetti. See all that on the floor? It's like confetti. So what really shocked me is how far the tide goes out. The tide goes out really, really far. But I think the Panama Bay is kind of actually flatter than other places in Mexico that we've been. And obviously tides vary throughout the world. There's cats absolutely everywhere here. There's also turkey vultures absolutely everywhere. When you move to a country, obviously you have to make that decision by weighing up the benefits versus the negatives of coming to a country. Coming to Panama, I thought there would actually be way more negatives than we actually had so far anyways. So, you know, I had pretty low expectations of what I thought it would be like. I was thinking, you know, it's probably going to be more like a third world country, developing country. And I think it possibly will be once we get out of the city, because this city is really like any city like Toronto or Vancouver. Now, interestingly enough, if you're at Casco Viejo, you know, the prices of real estate and stuff like that are insane. They're absolutely insane. You're talking 650,000 US for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo, which is just nuts. There's so many condos in the actual main city. They've overbuilt it so much that you can actually get a condo for a fairly decent price there. So it's not too bad. So Casco Viejo is kind of an off-limits place, and it's kind of ridiculous because the real estate prices versus the rent make absolutely no sense, but you can understand why investors have bought all the real estate there. It's because there's no other place like it. You know, you can't build another one of them. Like Casco Viejo is very historic. There's a lot of history there. So you're not going to be able to build another one. So you can see out there all the ships going into the Panama Canal. This is one of the roads, and then, you know, the Malecon goes down there, but you can't see it. There's a hill over there called Ancon, I believe. We didn't walk up there, but we walked up another big hill yesterday, and that was a huge mission. I mean, it was so hot, guys. We did it in the afternoon at around 3, so probably the hottest part of the day. I mean, we were just trying to pack so many different things in. We were just drenched. It was just so hot, so humid, and we didn't even see any of the sloths or the monkeys or any of the thing that you could supposedly see on that trail walking to the top. I'll put up some of the pictures of the views you get of the city. It's called the Metropolitan Park. It's a really well kept park. It's like $4 US to enter, and that's the thing. Here, things seem to be well looked after. Things seem to be kept really well. You know, in Mexico, a lot of things are rough around the edges. You also get a lot of people who approach you all the time trying to sell you stuff, and it doesn't even matter if you live there. That's going to happen, especially in the tourist areas. Now, that doesn't happen in places like Guadalajara or some of the big cities, but in the touristy places where expats tend to go, it's kind of nuts because you're constantly hassled by locals. But the Mexican people are really, really nice. Now, the Panamanian people, they don't talk as much, but still, they're very polite and nice people, and I think it will be interesting getting to know more Panamanians as we journey through the country, because a country is its people. You know, that is a big part of the country. A lot of expats move around and they kind of stay in their little gated enclaves, and they don't actually talk to the people. They don't actually, and that's a big part of your life. You know, you're gonna have to deal with the people. I mean, one thing we know for sure is we're gonna have to learn Spanish. The Spanish here is just like, a lot of the words are totally different. This is a cafe we went to yesterday. I had this coffee in there. The coffee here, unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. It's always nice to come to a country and the first place you stay in is like the touristy place. It's geared towards tourists. You know, English is widely spoken here. We've tried to speak Spanish. We're learning Spanish. I think the best way to learn Spanish is to do it when you're actually in a country, because you can practice things immediately. Like if you learn a new word, you can use it when you're next out and about. So learning Spanish is a big part, especially if we came here. We would definitely start learning. We know some, we don't know loads, like we're not, and we would want to know a lot. We would want to become fairly fluent, but we definitely want to learn a lot more so we could have conversations, speak to people, because like I said, you know, talking to the local people here, I believe, is very important. So some of the places across Panama are probably going to just be insanely different. You know, there's a couple of cities in Panama. It's a fairly sparsely populated country on the whole. It's not, you know, a country which is massively populated by any stretch of the imagination, but it is really nice. Got palm trees. There's like ruins everywhere because there was a fire here. I want to say it was in the 1800s, because there's a church down here which has been burnt down. There's kind of history everywhere you turn in Casco Viejo. One of the things I've noticed here so far, that everything is quite laid back. Everyone is chilled out, and I don't mind that, and you kind of expect it when it's this hot, you know. It's just, everyone's got to take things a little bit slow, so I kind of expect it. But this is also referred to as like El Mañana type attitude, and it's something that you get in a lot of Latin American countries, and it's well known about. And it's also, you know, you get this in the Caribbean too. So this is one of the churches, and I'm pretty sure that it says here that it was 18th century. Yeah, 18th century church, and there was a fire, but it doesn't say when the fire was. But this is the church, guys. It's kind of insane that you have these ruins just very well kept as well all around, and I'm not sure if that's the new church. It looks like they're attached, so it probably is, but you can see, yeah, very nice. And you can actually get in here during the day. I'm not sure if it's open right now, but you can actually get in here. No, it's shut right now, but yeah, that entrance is usually open and you can get in there and it's free, you know. And there's a lot of stuff like that which is really nice here. This isn't a place where you don't feel safe or anything like that. And if you've ever been to places in Mexico, you'll know things can be just very busy. Not that necessarily you don't feel safe or anything like that. It's just maybe that things are so busy, you'll worry about your camera getting stolen or something like that. Nothing like that here. Obviously, we're in the most touristy part of Panama right now, and we're going to be moving to the less touristy parts, some of the expat parts where a lot of expats choose to live, and see what it's all about, why they choose to live here. Obviously, there's huge benefits for expats living here. One of them is a tax benefit. There's no tax on foreign income here in Panama, which is just absolutely great in my opinion. So here, back in the place, I have to duck down here because I've already smacked my head on this beam or whatever it is. All right, so I'm back on the roof here in Casco, Viejo, of this beautiful Airbnb. I'll link it in the description. It's a pretty expensive place, but we scored an amazing deal booking this thing last minute. Normally it costs quite a lot of money, and especially in the peak season, which is obviously the winter months when people are trying to escape the cold weather in Canada and head down here, which is actually the dry season. Right now is the wet season. So anyway, guys, I hope this kind of gave you some insights on what I think of Panama. First impressions of being here, just 3 days now, and I believe on the whole it's going to be more expensive country than Mexico, and that's why a lot of people kind of don't move here, because unless you're in your income earning years, to live here on fixed income, it's going to be pretty tough, because it's not exactly a cheap place. At least that's what we found out so far, but maybe it's going to get a lot cheaper as we travel across the country. So anyway, from beautiful Panama City, I will see you in the next video. Take care of yourselves, guys, and if you've enjoyed this video, you might like that video there. You might also like this video there. I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys.